I have always had incredibly tight hips, and this has kept me from squatting heavy and hard in a comfortable manner. So the last year or so, I've been implementing these things to help me get the mobility back in my hips so that I can continue to squat heavy and hard, pain-free. Addressing the front of the hip first, start with the ATG split squat. When you're first doing this, I would start high and then go lower, and finally progress to doing it on the floor. Addressing the back side of the hip with an elephant walk, starting a little bit higher, going to a little bit lower, and then finally progressing to the ground. Addressing the outer part of my hip with the pigeon push-up, starting with the assisted variation, moving to the non-assisted variation. The second one to address the outer part of the hip would be the QL extension. So staying in a straddle like this and then leaning to the side so that we're stretching the hip there. And addressing the inner part of the hip with the Cossack squat, starting with a high variation like this, moving to a little bit lower, and then finally progressing to the floor. Using all of these things helped me get my mobility back in my hips so I could continue to squat heavy and hard, pain-free. Now that being said, what I had to realize was I couldn't come in here and do the hardest variation of every single thing right off the rip. I had to find what was scalable for me. And depending on which area was tighter for me and which part of my hip, depended on which variation I needed to use and how I needed to regress or progress. I hope this helps.